Here is, though, Laura Ingraham hosting an anonymous Nevada poll worker. And I should tell you right now, it is not Elmo. It's going to sound like Elmo, but it's not.
The Trump campaign has submitted explosive evidence of voter fraud to the DOJ in the form of a sworn affidavit from a poll worker in Clark County, Nevada. Now, that poll worker joins me now exclusively with the shocking details. Now, we're going to be concealing her identity, even disguising her voice over her own safety concerns. Thank you for joining us. You saw something suspicious. We're going to get right into it tonight. Happening on the side of a Biden-Harris van in the parking lot of the polling station. Now, walk the audience through what happened.
I went out to go for a walk on my break, and I probably had a 150, 175-foot stretch where I was walking. The Biden van was parked along this stretch, and I was walking to it, so about 150 feet. I was walking, and I could see these people hand over what appeared to be white envelopes, just hand over onto this table. And as I got closer, the envelopes were being torn open. There were two people dropping the envelopes and two people ripping them open and turning and facing the van and drawing on them or marking them. And as I got closer, as I was walking, they would put things down and pick more paper up and mark on the van and then put it down and pick some more up. And as I got closer, I thought, those are ballots. And I didn't, I was in my polling uniform, basically. And as I walked by, I looked and I thought, those are ballots. And it kind of was an odd, like, what are they doing? There were 4 total people, but only 2 were marking and opening the envelopes and the paper. And as it took about a 6-minute walk to walk this parking lot, and I did it. I just walked my entire lunch hour. And so I came around a second time, and they're still opening and marking the ballots.
But you didn't say anything? You didn't say anything when you first saw it? I mean, how close were you to be able to see a ballot?
Well, as I was walking towards them, I was, like...
Yeah, she didn't say anything because she sounds like a minion from one of those cartoon movies, and so no one was going to take her seriously no matter what.
Now, yeah, if you just describe walking around in that voice, it sounds vaguely suspicious, but...
here's the thing. And I this is one of the things you learn day one at the George Soros election fraud camp. Do not fill out all the fake ballots on the day of the election with a Biden-Harris van, or, use an unmarked van, and don't do it out in the open near the elections place. You do it in the special hideout that Soros has paid for.
They would have totally failed the Clinton voter fraud seminar. I mean, I passed with flying colors, but I don't know. They seem like bad students to me.
Now,
that's not how my people do it.
Right.
For those of you who are cynical about this, just because we now know that the postal worker that was on Project Veritas lied and has recanted, you should also know that the administration apparently has not submitted it. Maybe they've submitted it to the DOJ, but remember, this is a state violation. These are state poll workers. They have not received a formal claim. Or I should say the Nevada AG's office has not received any type of affidavit or any type of claim about this. In other words, it sounds a lot like they didn't have time to report it because the poll worker had to go on television to talk about it. I'm sure they'll get around to it because this is urgent.
We're now seeing this with multiple of these Trump voter fraud claims. They're like, I had to prioritize coming on cable news before actually submitting this legal ballot, going into this legal battle about voter fraud that I say is so important.
Well, it could be very re-traumatizing to report voter fraud.
Right. They don't want to get triggered.
And one of the problems with also submitting it to law enforcement is that you're sort of heavily invested at that point. You can go on Fox News and say anything, particularly when you're shrouded in a shadow and with a fake voice thing.
They asked her what disguises she wanted, and she just says all of them. Like that was like the
everything, everything. Now, here's what happens though when you actually engage in the legal process. Put up this image. This is an exchange between a Pennsylvania judge and a Trump campaign attorney. This is from the Montgomery County Board of Election vote count. Put this up. This is number 6. The court. I understand. I'm asking you a specific question, and I am looking for a specific answer. Are you claiming that there is any fraud in connection with these 592 disputed ballots? Mr. Goldstein, who is the one of the attorneys for the campaign. To my knowledge, at present, no. The court. Are you claiming that there is any undue or improper influence upon the elector with respect to these 592 ballots? The lawyer, to my knowledge, at present, no. In other words, we're not making any claims about this. We're just saying there's something going on here, Your Honor. Like, what the heck? But if you're asking us if it has anything to do with the outcome of the election or fraud or anything like that, no. The answer is no. But we maybe later we'll know something different.
Yeah, I mean, it almost doesn't need to be said, but the New York Times did journalism on this, and they spoke to most heads of polling stations and officials in the states, and most of them responded and said, no, we didn't see anything like this. So, of course, Fox isn't going to have those folks on, people who actually know what's going on. They're there to kind of fan the flames of what Trump is claiming here when he's teetering on the brink anyway. I mean, Pompeo was almost tongue in cheek when he said we're preparing for a second Trump administration. It would be like amusing if the consequences weren't so dire.
The amazing thing is how little of a price that any of them are going to pay for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's just sort of like, well, we've got to let them, I mean, honestly, they have the same attitude towards these grown-ups on Fox and these grown-ups in the administration and these grown-ups in the Senate and the House and whatnot, as I do with my 7-year-old, which is like, I'm just going to let him have a temper tantrum and let it wear out. But in the meantime, it's not like, hey, we've got another 7-year-old who is trying to maybe help the country deal with a pandemic, let's say, or to ramp up their administration. I mean, it is not an equivalent situation. Our behavior should not be in the same way that you sort of overlook a temper tantrum of a 7-year-old who didn't, didn't get the Lego set he wanted, with all due respect to my son.
Well, hopefully these folks can go hang out with Guaido and that Anez lady and make a support group for people who failed at doing a coup.
Yeah, I mean, Pompeo's at least consistent, or the Trump administration's at least consistent, right? They recognize Guaido as the leader. They delegitimized the Bolivian election results, and now they're saying that Trump is the true leader of the country. So they really do have a consistent track record. You have to give them credit for backing illegitimate leaders and claiming they're legitimate.
People probably saw Mike Pompeo make a comment like you were alluding to yesterday. He was asked, or maybe it was 2 days ago, he was asked about, do you feel that the fact that the government service administration is not signing off resources to the Biden administration is going to inhibit their ability to set up and maintain decent relations with other countries? And Mike Pompeo, joking around, apparently, said, the transition to the second Trump administration will be smooth. Now, I mean, he's joking around, of course, and as if it is a joke that, we have a lot of time to spare to get this new administration going in the midst of a pandemic. But there's also a quality of all of this that is like, it's like, I don't actually believe what we're seeing is a coup, but it's also sort of like where you see like your buddy is drunk and he's on the roof of your garage and he's pretending like he's going to jump off, but he's so drunk, there's also a good chance that he's just going to slip and fall off. That's sort of where I feel like we're at. Like if there was any opportunity for Trump to actually stay in office, and it wasn't so obvious that he was, beat, and there was like some wiggle room for Pennsylvania, then I don't know. But here's Joe Biden responding to Mike Pompeo.
There is no evidence of any of the assertions made by the president or Secretary of State Pompeo. Secretary of State Pompeo.
Yeah, I mean, well, two things. One, it's almost like he's kind of being a trailblazer, Trump is, and his whole team, for a potentially real coup. Like, he's showing them, this is how you do it. We're just going to lay it out, and then potentially, I mean, it's funny, but it's like they're showing how flimsy all of this is. And then my second point is, credit where it's due, Biden's playing this the right way. He's not giving any life to it. He's laughing it off. He's in the power position here, and he's treating them like the clowns that they are. If he was getting all outraged by it, which I feel like if I was in his position, I might be, which is why I'm not in his position, then you would be giving legitimacy to it and acting emotionally and allowing his supporters to maybe cling on to it more than they do.
Yeah, I think basically treating them like they're pathetic is actually a good look for Biden here. But I totally agree. I think Tom Cotton is sitting down. He's just taking notes. I mean, and like Ryan Grimm said at in the first half of the program, anybody coming up through the ranks of the Republican Party is basically being, there's a lot of modeling going on here for them, and this is what has been going on, frankly, for the past 20, 25, 30 years with the Republicans. You get Newt Gingrich, who pulls a version of this, essentially, and each successive generation of Republicans becomes more like this. And here's Matt Gaetz. Here's a perfect example. This guy who was, he got his modeling from Joe Scarborough, who was part of that Newt Gingrich generation.
And now he's #resistance.
Now he's #resistance, but he has to do that for television. But here is the guy who literally followed him in that district, not successively, directly, but in the same district. Here is Matt Gaetz talking about, praising Project Veritas on a day when their whole story just literally fell apart.
If that is in fact the case, but Steve, we've also learned how hard fraud is to catch after the fact. If there is a lesson for Republicans here, we have to be far more aggressive as these ballots are coming in, because by now the ballots have been separated from the envelopes, and it's very difficult to do the ex post facto authentication work that I think would give people confidence in the outcome of the election. And so I think we've got to be more diligent. Look, how is it that Project Veritas and the National Pulse and these relatively small media organizations are turning up more evidence than the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice? That's our failure. We didn't get out there and do the work on the front end to ensure that we weren't in this position, because Donald Trump did everything he had to do to motivate 71 million Americans to vote for him legally.
That's exactly right. And
all of Trump's votes, incidentally, were perfectly legal, but it's the other, 80 million or so that were the illegal ones. How does Project Veritas do it? Well, it turns out maybe they just offer people the opportunity to make a lot of money. Washington Post reports that a Pennsylvania postal worker whose claims have been cited by top Republicans as potential evidence of widespread voting irregularities admitted to U.S. Postal Service investigators that he fabricated the allegations. This is according to 3 officials briefed on the investigation and a statement from the House Congressional Committee. Richard,
they literally just did it in Minnesota. They just did it. They just tried to pay that guy.
Well, the Project Veritas set up apparently a GoFundMe for this guy. They are the ones who interviewed him, and they were first aired, his allegations, this guy Hopkins, by Project Veritas. Hopkins agreed to attach his name to the allegations late last week. He was instantly celebrated by Trump supporters. A GoFundMe page created under Hopkins' name raised more than $136,000, with donors praising him as a patriot and whistleblower. However, sadly, the fundraising page was removed by GoFundMe when it turns out the guy lied. Yes, that is a sad way to go down. But, and this is good, folks, if you're looking to make a quick buck, Project Veritas offering $25,000 for firsthand election fraud tips in Pennsylvania. That was announced just yesterday. Also, of course, Governor Dan Patrick, or I should say Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in Texas, is offering $1 million. Wow. $1 million.
Yeah,
So,
this is not how journalistic organizations usually behave, by the way, offering rewards for information. But sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
hold on. Let me see if I can practice something here. Hold on for 1 second. Is there any way I can? Oh, I can't shut down all those lights. Sorry. Okay, I was going to try and get shrouded in darkness. Where's my $1 million? Where's my $1 million?
Where's my $1 million? $1 million.
Can we play
Such a good number.
Can we play a clip of the?
Those movies are so good.
The knockoff version of that Laura Ingraham interview. Do we have it? You already have it.
Thank you for joining us. You saw something suspicious. We're going to get right into it tonight. Happening on the side of a Biden-Harris van in the parking lot of the polling station. Now, walk the audience through what happened.
I'm not going to say which party does it, but thousands of votes are gathered and they come in and they're dumped in a location, and then all of a sudden you lose elections that you think you're going to win. And I'm not going to stand for it. Our voting system, first of all, we should have voter ID. When you vote, you should have voter ID.
Oh my God!
And if you send something
so
in,
good.
you should be sure, as a state and as a country.
All right,
you
we're
should
good.
be sure.
We don't need this anymore. Who was that? We just point people to that version of it because it's so funny.
Yeah, it's like when Trump used to call in as his, what was the name of his fake
John Miller.
PR guy?
Miller.
John Miller. Not creative at all with the name. I would have gone a little more exotic.
Yeah, who was that? That was Nick
Lutsko.
Yeah, at
Very
Nick
funny.
Nick Lutsko.
Yeah, he
also
does
did
those musical kind of parodies too, right? That guy's really funny.
Yeah, he did
Brian
a super.
Bongino one.
He did a super funny Bongino video about the RNC that people
Yeah.
should look.
It's still stuck in my head. It's like a good song.
Yeah, it's literally stuck in my head. I haven't had a song stuck in my head for a while, but I literally want to listen to it right now.
Yeah.
Related to all this, I just hope now that they know how annoying it is when someone tries to coup, the democratic results of an election, I'm sure the Democrats will never support a coup in Latin America again.
Let's hope. Let's hope. I would not invest a lot in that.
Well, I just didn't know. Like, it's really annoying. It turns out it's so annoying.
It's stressful.
Bet the over on coups supported by the Democrats in the next 5 years.
But here's the thing that is, I mean, that's well taken. It's not going to happen. I mean, we're still going to get the foreign policy establishment is going to, I think, under more than likely, I would say, under both Democrats and Republicans are going to support the sort of like overarching corporate, the corporate incentives to get rid of leaders of countries who stand in the way, perhaps, of these corporations profiting. I mean, I think that is, it's going to be a rare opportunity that we get a politician who's going to who's going to in any way try and inhibit that. I think Sanders may have been one of, certainly in my lifetime, the closest to a politician who had a chance of winning anything, frankly. To do
Kissinger has said that Biden had good people around him throughout the campaign. So,
of course, of course. Yikes. No, I mean, it's not even in play. I mean, we saw Guaido in Congress getting applauded.